There we go. All right, welcome everyone to our fourth quarter ADOT DBE Joint Task Force meeting. My name is Rebecca Morris. I'm with Arizona Builders Exchange, or BEX. We're your consultant on this for ADOT DBE Supportive Services. A couple housekeeping notes. Biggest one is everybody gets the slides. So I know we are going to have some slide decks presented today. Those will be distributed. So we're recording this. We do have slide decks. We do have handouts from our speakers. So everybody will get that. So first up, we'll put that in the chat as well. And I'll say that a couple more times. There are slides, and everybody does get those. That's like the most common question. I ask it as well. Other notes, if you would like to introduce yourselves, please use the chat. So we have enabled the chat. Be sure to use that drop down. So on my screen, it's on the right-hand sidebar. And I always enable chat or send your note to everyone. So definitely do that. We are not expecting any verbal questions. If you have any Q&A is best used for the Q&A portion. So definitely if you have questions of the ADOT department updates or of our panel, please do use that Q&A. That kind of holds the question and we will get back to it. So with that, I think we've got quite a bit of people coming in. Oh, good to see everybody. Good morning, good morning. I love to see the chat kind of get going with all of our introductions. So thank you so much for everyone who's participating there. Definitely drop your contact information. I love it. Who's that doing that? Is it Reginald? Reginald Smith? Definitely, I love it. Seeing all that contact information pop up if you want to connect with people via this webinar. So good, I love seeing this stuff. So good morning, everybody. Great to see you. All right, we've killed a couple minutes. Hopefully everybody is logged in and ready to go. And with that, I'd like to invite Matt Mall with the State Engineer's Office. Matt, could you turn your camera on and your microphone on? Good morning. Thank you for coming in. I'd love to give you the floor. I will step into the background.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm Matt Mall, Deputy State Engineer with ADOT. I'm here today to give you a brief update on major projects coming up that present significant opportunities. The most significant opportunities we have coming up are projects on I-10 widening between Phoenix and Casa Grande. There are several projects over the next few fiscal years from this fiscal year all the way out currently until fiscal year 28. There are also several major projects coming up on I-10 in Tucson. And I encourage anyone who's interested to look up our 5-year transportation facilities program. You can find that just by Googling ADOT 5-year program or use your preferred search engine. It'll be one of the first things that comes up. Just make sure you go to what is listed as our current program. That does change from time to time. So for the most current and accurate information on real-time opportunities today, you can go to the azdot.gov website, go to business, and under business, you'll find the tab for contracts and specifications. And on their page, you can find the currently advertised projects, which are the projects that are currently out advertised for bids with ADOT. And that's our opportunities for today. I'll turn it back over to you, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. We appreciate you coming in, especially last minute. I know you didn't have a ton of time to present or to prepare for this, but I think it's so important and so indicative of ADOT's commitment to the DBE program to have the State Engineer's Office come in every single quarter. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right, I will invite you to turn your camera off. And then I'd like to invite Sarker with Contracts and Specs. Sarker, good to see you this morning. How you doing?
Good, Rebecca. How are you?
Perfect. Thank you. I will step into the background if you could give us an update from Contracts and Specs.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So from contract and specification, the most important update we have is we have 2 batch of storage specification out recently. The first one effective from November 4th, and the second batch came out effective from November 16th. So if you are familiar with our website, please go and check all the updated storage specification already uploaded there. And another storage specification that will impact the DB funds in the future is coming, that EP Rise and EP Goals. No goals is specification that related to the DB goals. So this is specification our spec committee is working on with the new regulations, and it will be coming in a couple of months if everything goes well. And then what Matt was talking about, the I-10 projects, so these are major projects, and if you want to check with those, you have to check our major projects website and also our alternate delivery project website. So this is not in the regular page, it will be in the alternate delivery project list. So right now we have 10 regular projects advertised and out of under 9 contracts, and except one local project and one NFA project, non-federal aid project, all these project has DBE goals. So you can check out those projects and see what the plan holder list, and you can work with those primes and participate on the projects. So that's all from contract specifications. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarkar. Appreciate it. All right, Jennifer Moise, would you be able to turn your camera on? And let's make sure your microphone works as well. Jennifer, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Microphone is on.
I tried to turn my video on, but it said my host has it off.
Oh, there you go. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Let's try that one more time.
Okay. Good
Hey,
morning,
Jennifer.
everyone.
Good morning. I will step into the background if you could give us an update from ECS.
Sure. I'm Jennifer Moises. I'm the assistant manager of the engineering consultant section. And some updates that we have are for upcoming advertisements in ECS. I'll drop the website into the chat. We currently have an on-call that we're getting ready to advertise on in December. And we also have a project specific, the I-10 West Quartzsite traffic interchange and frontage road improvements. That'll be going out in December also. We really encourage everybody to keep tabs on our upcoming advertisements. We should be adding a few more of those within the next few weeks. Let's see here. And those are the updates from ECS.
Did you drop those? Are you the one that dropped something just in the chat? I saw it pop up real quick. There it is. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna move this over into the chat. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for putting that into the chat. All of our attendees should see it now. Upcoming advertisements from ECS. Jennifer, thank you so much. If you want to turn your camera off and your microphone off, step into the background. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in. All right, Lorena, DBE Supportive Services, I invite you to turn your camera on.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Good morning.
Hello, and good morning, everyone. I'm Lorena Nava, and I'm the Program Manager for DBE Supportive Services. Thank you all for joining us today. It's certainly been a busy quarter. Last month, we successfully completed the 11th cohort of the Business Development Program and empowered 12 graduating firms with business and industry training to improve their operations. And our recent DBE Small Business Conference in Mesa provided a platform for nearly 250 DBEs and small businesses to engage in valuable connections and gain insights into project opportunities with primes and buying agencies during the one-on-one speed appointments. Looking ahead, we are well underway and are planning for enhanced educational and networking opportunities to prepare you for what's ahead in 2025. Our enrollment for the next business development program will begin in January. This is a virtual 21-week cohort program that offers educational classes covering specific industry and business-related topics with the goal to help you to continue to develop or learn the skills and tools needed to grow your business. For those of you that are interested in enrolling in next year's business development program, head over to our website. There is an application that you can complete, and we'll also be sure to drop that link in the chat. And also stay connected to our DBES communications for upcoming projects, solicitations, events, and announcements. And join us for the follow-up virtual task force meeting workshop on December 3rd from 9 to 10:30, where we will take a look behind the scenes of ADOT's contracts and specifications and audit and analysis departments for an in-depth view at the online tools and resources their offices have to offer and how they can help enhance your business. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorena. Great to see you. Thank you again for coming in. All right, one more before we get to our main topic. Gabe, I invite you to turn your camera on and your microphone on. Gabe, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can. I will step into the background. Gabe, take it away.
Awesome. Okay. It looks like my share screen is not working.
Oh, hang on one second. I will get that going. There you go. Let's try that again.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So once again, my name is Gabe Demerby, and I am the BECO Contract Compliance and Training Officer. I help manage and lead the BECO compliance team. And today I'm going to provide you with some brief updates on year-to-date DB goal accomplishments. So before we begin, I just want to briefly mention that ADOT does comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and other related authorities in all of its programs and activities. Any person who believes his or her Title VI or ADA rights have been violated may file a complaint by contacting the ADOT Civil Rights Office at 602-712-8946 or via email to Civil Rights Office at civilrightsoffice@azdot.gov within 180 days of the alleged violation. On this slide, looks like it, I apologize. So this slide is just the Spanish version of the non-discrimination notice to public. So again, if you have any questions, please follow up with our Civil Rights Office. ADOT will make reasonable accommodations to ensure that individuals with disabilities have an equal opportunity to enjoy ADOT's programs, services, and activities. So if you require any accommodations, please contact the External Civil Rights Team at 602-712-8946. And again, this is just the auxiliary aids slide in Spanish. On this slide is the self-ID, anonymous self-ID. So I believe the BECO team will be sending this out via email. So stay tuned for that. So now we're going to get into the portion of my presentation. So on this slide right here, you'll see a table that is representative of a table on our DB Goals and Reports website. You will get a copy of this presentation with links to our website. So currently, if you're not aware, ADOT's FHWA DB goal for fiscal years 2024 through 2026 is 12.55%. That goal is broken up into a race conscious goal of 7.65%, and the rest is the race neutral goal is 4.65%. So ADOT assesses each FHWA funded project for DB opportunities, therefore subcontracting opportunities. Currently, the race neutral goal is where the prime brings on additional the race neutral goal of 4.9% is met when a prime brings on additional DB participation above the assessed DB goal, or when the prime brings on DBEs on a race neutral goal, which is a goal assessed to 0%. ADOT does report these DB achievements on a semi-annual basis for FHWA. So currently we are in the second half of fiscal year 2024, which covers April through September. I'm going to go over the DB commitments at time of award on this slide right here. So on this slide, this is a representation of a table we have again on our Goals and Reports website. So you'll see overall for the fiscal year of 2024, for the 11 months, we're still missing the month of September. We're hovering at 8% DB participation at time of award. Now keep in mind, this does not include race neutral DBEs added during the award period. Race conscious DBEs will be included in our semi-annual period data. For the second half of fiscal year 2024, we're currently at 8.7% DBE utilization. And that is including our 2 alternative delivery projects who have already met their DB commitments. Therefore, it's bringing down our percentage just slightly. So we also like to track what our traditional contracts are at. And our traditional contracts are at 10.7%. Looking at this same time period last year, April 2023 to August of 2023, we were at 6.8%, including the alternative delivery, and at 10.8%, not including the alternative delivery. So we're right around the same exact range still. Again, we got 1 more month to go. And I apologize, I don't have semi-annual data in front of me, but we are not quite ready to share that yet. We should have that prepared within the next month. So again, I want to re-mention race neutral DBE participation. So per the applicable 49 CFR Part 2651, each state agency must meet the maximum feasible portion of their goal via race neutral means. And again, our current goal for ADOT is 4.9% of that overall goal of 12.55%. So how do we achieve this? Again, that is DBE participation above and beyond a DB commitment, the race conscious DBEs. It's also achieved when prime contractors bring on DB participation on FHWA funded projects that are deemed race neutral, a goal of 0%, meaning there was limited subcontracting opportunities, further limiting potential DB opportunities. However, we still want to encourage industry to bring on as many DBs as possible on those race neutral projects because they help us meet our overall race neutral goal. So what are we asking from everyone? We're asking to bring on just 1 more DBE when applicable. If you have the ability to bring on 1 more DBE, that will help ADOT meet our race neutral goal. That will help you in good faith effort in case a committed DBE falls short of their commitment. They have to pull out the contract for whatever reason. So I'm sure you all have heard, but USDOT released new DBE and ACDB final rules that went into effect May 9th. So please be prepared for some ongoing training and guidance from BECO. As Sarker said, currently ADOT's E-Prize, which is our DB contract language inserted into ADOT construction contracts with a goal and without a goal, our race neutral goals. Those are currently with our ADOT Standards Committee and our subcommittee for review and suggestions. We're going to meet with industry to go over some potential updates, finalize those updates, and then we will roll those out to all the other contract language documents that we have available that go into our local public agency contracts, our professional service contracts, our alternative delivery design build contracts. But on here, there are just some helpful links to the USDOT's website with some training sessions that were recorded and provided by USDOT, as well as links to the Q2 task force where we kind of went over some of these new updates. That's kind of all I have today. Is there any questions?
Dave, thank you so much. I think there is one question that you may be able to answer, did come in the chat. The question is, why do on-call professional services contracts not have a DBE goal? Is that something you could answer?
There are DB goals in some on-call contracts. Some of them do not have a goal. It all depends on the type of project when we're assessing it for DB opportunities, narrowly tailoring the goal. However, if it is a supplemental service contract, typically that is a race neutral contract. Another one would be right-of-way, materials only. Very limited potential for subcontracting opportunity, if none at all. Therefore, it is limiting DB opportunities, and then it will be assessed for a race neutral goal. Just to give you some data though, professional service contracts, we are achieving our overall goal at time of award. I think we're hovering right between 14 and 15% for DBE utilization at time of award on professional service contracts. Again, that includes other tasks, other calls, not necessarily on calls, product specific too. Hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to keep you there for a minute. Again, I'm not sure if you're the right person to answer this, but I have two more questions. Does the state and the prime get DBE credit if they use a DBE subcontractor? Oh, but never give the DBE any work.
Great question. So the answer to that is no. DB credit does not count until the DB has performed the work and has performed a commercial useful function. So in our semi-annual report, we report two areas. DB commitments at time of award. Again, race conscious information. Sometimes a little bit of race neutral as well if they commit over the assessed goal. And then on the second half of our semi-annual report available on our website is DB payments. So that's what we report as well to FHWA, FTA, and FAA. If payments were made to the DBE and recorded in the DOOR system, they will count for credit if that DBE did perform a cuff.
Thank you. Kind of a follow-up to that. So I'm going to kind of reword the question that I see in the chat. If I'm a DBE, do I get credit or does the state get credit if the contract doesn't have a set DBE goal? That sounds like, based on what you said, that would count towards the goal, even if at the end of the day, you're right. You said the DBE, it's the DOORS payment, right?
Correct.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so that would be a project that is race neutral, a project that is advertised with a 0% DB goal. ADOT does still get DB credit, and that counts to our overall race neutral participation, which is a big part of meeting that overall goal. We want to achieve as much DB participation via race neutral means as possible. Again, that's when primes bring on DBEs on a race neutral project, a project with a 0% goal. It's also when primes bring on DBEs, additional DBEs above their commitment, the DBEs that are identified on that affidavit. When they bring on additional DBEs and they get paid and they meet a cuff, ADOT does get credit for that DB participation.
Perfect. One more. Gabe, you're so popular. I love this. You have a lot of questions today. Okay, looking at professional services contracts. Can you review what aspects of the professional services that are delivered? I think that means what aspects of the contract is there a certain amount that needs to be self-performed by the prime professional services? Based on what the question says, it's entirely possible that the larger category of professional services can unintentionally create a ceiling against other firms that are outside certain work codes. I'm not sure I understand all of that language, but Gabe, did you want to kind of take a crack at that?
I'm not fully understanding the question, but I think I can answer that. Primes performing professional service contracts must perform 51% of the overall contract themselves. Jennifer, if you're still on, can you confirm that for ECS? For construction, I believe it's 45% that the primes must complete the overall contract value.
Perfect. I think that's the question. That's what I was kind of going towards. That's how I interpret it as well. So I think that was a question from Brian. So if you want to clarify, definitely drop that back in the chat. I will also say thank you to everyone who's putting them in the Q&A. That is a little easier for me to see as the moderator, just because the chat does kind of keep going quite a bit. And then I have one more. Gabe, I'm not sure again if this is a question that you can answer. I think I also know the answer to this is if you're coming from out of state, does the contractor have to be licensed in the state? So as a construction company, I'm going to venture to say yes, contractors must be licensed in the state of Arizona to do work on ADOT projects.
Correct. Licensed, correct. Licensed to perform work in the state of Arizona. Must be AZU tracks registered. And if they are DBE, they need to apply for DBE, interstate DBE certification.
Perfect. All right, I got one more question for you. Temp Tech. Does a Temp Tech contract exist for DBEs for CA&I services? And if not, will there be?
I do not have the answer to that one, but we can probably write it down and follow up.
Okay, perfect. So I will put that out to my entire ADOT team. There's quite a few ADOT folks on the line. If you wanted to answer that, either type it over in the Q&A, type it into the chat, or just turn your microphone on, camera on. We're here. So you're welcome to jump in on that.
And Daniel, just to verify, can you verify what CA&I stands for so the team has that information? We don't want to say.
Construction Administration and Inspection is what I know that acronym as. So Daniel, if that's not the right acronym, definitely let me know. All right, that one I got. I'm always excited when I know the answer to a question. All right, Dave, thank you so much for being available to answer questions. We have quite a few for you today.
Definitely a lot of great questions today. Appreciate the time and keep bringing them. We're here to help.
Absolutely. All right, so again, I will ask everyone, we're going to get into our main topic. So Gabe, if you'd like to step into the background and turn your camera off, microphone off. I'm going to go ahead and stop your sharing. Perfect. There we go. All right. I love these questions. So thank you to all of our attendees for asking questions. I love to see engaged participants. So that's awesome. With that, I'd like to invite our main panelists on. So our main topic is upcoming opportunities on major projects. So I'm thrilled to invite Jason Brunker, is estimator and project manager with Kaufman Specialties. Byron Hubbard, vice president and project sponsor for FNF Construction. Guys, turn your cameras on. Come on stage. Thank you. And Jeff Hamilton, he is vice president transportation group, but he'll also claim the title of chief bottle washer over at Sunt Construction. So thank you to everyone. Thank you so much to our three panelists to talk about upcoming opportunities on major projects. You guys are some experts, but let's get to know you a little bit more as people. So I have a quick icebreaker for you, and all of my non-businessy questions, I'm going to take away the easy answer. So I'm taking away the gimme answers. So I want to know, you got to work a little harder to answer these questions. So we're getting into the holidays. I'd like to know from each of you guys, what is the best gift you've ever received? And I'm taking away the answers of your health, your family, and your kids, because those are the right ones, but you can't say that. So Byron, best gift you've ever received?
I'd say the best gift I ever received was a surprise trip to Nashville for my wife for my 40th birthday.
Good one. Broadway Street is fantastic.
It is.
Good one. Jason, what's the best gift you've ever received?
So mine's a little off topic, I guess, but I'm going to go with life, which I know you said we can't say family or kids or anything like that, but just being alive and enjoying everything I get to do every day. And then the other one is online gambling is legalized in Arizona. So that's whoever gave me that gift, I want to appreciate.
I like it. All right, I'll let that cliche answer of life slide by just because you gave me another one.
Right.
Jeff Hamilton.
I'm jumping on Byron's bandwagon. I got a gift one time. It was a surprise, excuse me, a surprise trip to Telluride to go snowboarding. I've got 4 kids, and so that making a trip like that for personal snowboarding is really tough to do. But my wife organized, the kids were taken care of, and her and I got to go up there for a few days and ride the powder. So that was awesome, and it was a complete surprise to me. So I'm not into tangible belongings. I'm into experiences. So that was really cool.
Good for you. All right. Well, thank you all for playing along. I like those questions, and we're going to have another round of those at the end. So just prepare yourselves. So those will be one-word answers. All right. So we wanted to get into our main topic of upcoming opportunities. This is probably my favorite topic to talk about, is where's the opportunities for everyone on the line, and where's the opportunities with some major ADOT and transportation projects in general coming from. So I'd like to start with you. So Jason, Byron, if you'd like to step into the background, I will as well. Jeff, I'm going to turn the stage over to you. We would like to hear from you. You have a couple really big projects going on. Would you kind of give us kind of an overview? We want to know about CapEx. We want to know about I-10 and Keno Parkway. We want to know about how would people on our webinar, how would they do work with Sunt Construction and Southwest Transit Partners? So I'd like to step into the background as well. And Jeff, please take it away.
I'm assuming you can see my screen. Is that correct?
That is correct. We can see
All right.
everything. Good.
Great. Well, first of all, I'm going to give you kind of my through line today. I'm going to be presenting on a couple projects. The first one is a Sunt project. It's a design build. And my intent is to describe what the scope of work is, what the current DBE opportunities are for that design build project. And then I'm going to switch gears a little bit and explain the Sunt and Stacy Whitbeck joint venture as Southwest Transit Partners for the Capital Extension Light Rail project that's going to be taking place in downtown Phoenix over the next few years here. So just want to kind of give you the through line on the agenda. First will be Keno and Country Club at I-10 down in Tucson. Second one will be Capital Extension in Phoenix, under a different prime entity. So first off, a little bit about Sunt. We've got 5 different business units. We've restructured our industrial group to have more focus in specific markets. So 3 different business units within that. But today we're focusing on transportation projects. So I just wanted to make that clear. Sunt does a lot of things market-wise, but today's focus is transportation. And that's the group that I work in, just to clear up any confusion there. So specifically to the ADOT project in Tucson, this is one of ADOT's largest design build projects in Southern Arizona, I think in history. We were recently awarded a $441.9 million design build contract. It's a Sunt project. And the scope of work here is identified in these 4 bullets. I won't read every one of those, but that's the major scope items of work. And this is our team. It's a design build project. And so Sunt is the design builder. Our prime designer is Jacobs Engineering, and they've got a great team assembled to deliver all the scopes of work. We've got Aztec, we've got Point Engineers, EPS Group, Ethos Engineering, Gordley Group, and Wheat. So they're the major subconsultants on the design side. And so that just kind of rounds out who the design build team is. Specific to the design builder, the Sunt folks that you probably either know or need to get to know, Steve Schmitz, our project manager. He's been in Tucson for over 20 years, been a lifelong employee at Sunt. Brent Kensacek is our quality manager. And then Anna Hernandez is our DBE and OJT outreach and compliance manager. She's got 2 support folks that are helping her on her team manage all of that. So she's not a single entity. She's got a group of people that support her, and then also some subconsultants that are giving her a hand as well. And then last but not least is Alex Francisco. He's our project engineer. And we've recently brought on Matt Speck, who's not shown here. So he's also going to be supporting the effort in organizing the DBE participation, tracking that, and ensuring the compliance of it as well. And I can get his contact information for the masses if that's preferred. That's just a little bit about the team. The goals for this project are for professional services, we're 13.91%, and the construction phase is 11.65%. Those were in the documents that we submitted and committed to. And I want to talk a little bit about that procurement schedule real quick, just to, I guess, educate everyone on the status of where we're at. So this is a procurement schedule diagram, and there's a lot to digest here. So I'll let everyone kind of take a minute and associate themselves with the information. But you can see a calendar bar up top, the year 2024, and then 2025. And you can see to the left that on April 17th, we sent out subcontractor bid packages as we were finalizing our proposal. And that commitment to DBE utilization was actually completed to ADOT at the end of May. And so that's when those 2 goals that you were seeing on the screen prior to this were committed to. But I will say that there are additional opportunities for DBE participation beyond what we've already committed to with ADOT and the DBE community. And that's going to happen as we complete the design and send out further documents, final design and procurement for scopes of work that we still need to feed and complete things that we will not be self-performing on the project. And some examples of those available opportunities for DBEs could be stormwater pollution prevention plan and maintenance, often called SWIP. And that's in development right now. The final design for that scope of work is in development, so stay tuned for that. We've got some flat work concrete available, meaning curb and gutter, driveways, etc., surface streets. And guardrail is a big one. That's a scope of work that we see a good opportunity for DBE participation in. And then obviously any services that DBE companies provide, and it can be anything really. I've just listed 3 here for convenience, you know, janitorial, catering, printing, but it could be a myriad of services, whatever your firm is good at, we would definitely consider as opportunities. So after explaining that, you're probably interested, if you're not familiar with SUNT's pre-qualification process. We do use a third-party program to assist that, and I'll be providing some documents to, I guess, educate the DBE community and how to navigate that pre-qualification process. The first one obviously is going to be general company information, and this is all completed online. The second one would be any contacts that your firm needs to designate for correspondence back and forth to work through the pre-qualification process. And an interesting data point to take note of there is that once a contact is established, you're kind of hooked and you're kind of there for the duration. So if you need to change that contact, if you've got someone that's filling out this form to get pre-qualified, and you realize that that's not the best person to be working back and forth with our pre-qualification department, that contact can be changed, and the documents that you're going to have an assistance will explain how to do that. We oftentimes get hung up on trying to correspond with the original contact, and that person's been intended to be transferred, but it hadn't officially been done so online. So that's important to pay attention to. And then obviously projects, what you've currently got under contract, the estimated backlog of that, references, maybe some information on the largest project that you've completed in the last 5 years. That's important for us to understand as far as capacity and your available resources to perform. So that's going to be part of the pre-qualification process. And then any legal information that's pertinent, and you'll be able to step through what those questions are. And if you have any questions on that, we're willing to work through that as well. Project information. This one's really important to us, and it should be really important to you as a DBE firm as well. What would you like to pursue? You know, it's important for us to understand maybe what your sweet spot is, but also that what could be a good stretch assignment to help grow your firm, but do it responsibly. And so this is a really good one to make sure you put some color around. And I believe there's a text field in here that you can describe the work that you'd like to pursue and maybe what you strategically would like to plan on doing in the future, so we can help your firm work towards improving. Then obviously safety is a big consideration when we pre-qualify subcontractors. We want to make sure that everyone's working safe on our projects, and also help you develop a good sound safety plan. And then insurance, this is going to be a requirement, obviously, to make sure that you can provide the correct insurance that's required by our contract, subcontract, as well as any flow down requirements from the prime agreement that we have with ADOT. And then financial information. This one can get tricky if you're a sole proprietor, or if you have personal financial information that you're not willing to provide. We can do one-on-one meetings where information is shared and a comfort level is established with us to take those necessary steps to at least get you pre-qualified for a certain dollar amount. There will be limitations if you're unwilling to provide financial information. So there's a monetary ceiling to a subcontract that we're able to issue. But that's important to work through with our financial representatives on a one-on-one basis. So we can make sure that we're maximizing your available resources, but still keeping you safe in a business sense. And I hope you can understand that. And this information, this QR code here, if you take a picture of this with your phone, it'll take you right to the portal of where all this information would be entered. And this will also be in the PDF copy, so that you don't have to take the picture right now on screen, and you can do it at a later date. But this will send you right to our portal for pre-qualifications for the SUNT side. And that's about it as far as the Keno Country Club project. Just some major information, I guess, on a large kind of higher level. It will be a multiple year contract. We're looking to start construction summer of 2025. It'll be May, June timeframe, and it'll last the better part of 2.5 to 3 years. So it's a long project. And I think something to consider there is there's probably going to be multiple DBE opportunities as we work through that schedule, and more DBE companies might get certified within that time frame. So we look at this as an evolving opportunity throughout the course of the project as we enter different phases. There may be different requirements. Some firms may choose to pursue new opportunities at that point, and depending on where we are in agreements with current DBE contractors, there may be additional opportunities on a longer burn project, such as the I-10 Keno and Country Club improvements. So that's important to take note of. Again, Building Connected, that's our third-party web-based program of how to get pre-qualified for us, and I'll be issuing those PDFs. There's a manual there for subcontractors to use to help navigate through that system, and then an outreach flyer for both vendors and subcontractors that'll explain kind of the high level requirements that I just stepped through for the Sun side. So switching gears now, I'm going to take off my Sun construction hat and explain the joint venture that we've got with Stacy and Whitbeck for the capital extension project. It's a light rail transit project for Valley Metro. We formed a joint venture called Southwest Transit Partners, and it's a 50-50 joint venture with Stacy Whitbeck. And we've been building light rail transit projects here in the Valley since the original CPEV program started. I think we've got 20+ miles under our belt as a joint venture. We built the operation and maintenance center when it was originally constructed before the line segments became activated. So we've been along with Valley Metro since their inception and continue to do extension work for them as a CM at risk. This project is a CM at risk. It's called the Capital Light Rail Extension. We just entered into milestone 1. We were selected a few months ago. Officially, it was a long procurement. It started in 2023, and it got tabled a little bit there after the short list because there had to be some design modification to reduce the limits of the project. And you'll get a visual of that, of the overall layout of the work here as we move forward through these slides. But we're working with Valley Metro right now. We've submitted our 40% cost model. So the design is definitely early in its inception. And so this is a project to start paying attention to as far as getting in on the front end procurement for construction services. This is an overview of the project itself. It kind of outlines the overall scope. I'll let everyone get associated with the map here. North is pointed up. On the right side of the screen, you can see 3rd Avenue as the eastern boundary of our scope of work. And we'll be connecting to what was recently constructed under the downtown project that Kiewit built for Valley Metro. And there's some turnouts right now for the track to head west. And you can see the light blue segment 1 identified there as heading number 1. And I'll get into the sequence of work here just a little bit for the audience, but I just wanted to explain the overall geography of the project first. We're going to be traveling west past 7th Avenue, 10th Avenue, and then at 15th Avenue, there's a major scope of work there to create a couplet, and it's going to then turn and head east down Jefferson Street. The first alignment on the north was along Washington Street, and then the one-way track heading back east will be on Jefferson, and we'll head back to 3rd Avenue, where we'll then tie into the loop that Kiewit finished recently. So again, a lot of detail here, 5 segments, 2 headings. This is kind of how we plan to build the work. And then the critical path, obviously, is segment 3. 15th Avenue's got a lot of utilities that we need to deal with. And so that's driving the critical path. And then the last bullet there up top is 5 phases per segment. And that's really the detail of the work and how it gets built. And I don't expect everyone on this call to understand what all this means, but I thought I'd put a little bit of detail around what goes into a light rail project. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is our 5 phases of work, starting at phase 0 and going up to phase 4. And then the general sequence of work is what's described and colored on the upper right. And that ties to the graphic diagram in the bottom. So if you could step through each phase, obviously is going to have different requirements on the sequence of work, but the general sequence will follow the red, green, blue, orange, and fuchsia or purple, whatever you call that last color. That's really how the sequence steps through. So if you've got a trade that you specialize in, this information would help you understand where in our sequence and progression of the construction schedule you fit into each segment. A lot of detail here, so I apologize for that. But again, you're going to get a copy of all this in a PDF, so hopefully it's helpful. And what we'd like to explain right now is we've been doing outreach as a joint venture since the inception of the procurement started. You know, we had an outreach event, a couple outreach events last year. We even had some outreach efforts in the RFQ stage before we were shortlisted, just so the DBE community can understand how serious we were in pursuing the opportunity. But the list on the left, I'm not going to read every one of these, is what we see as the large scopes of work that have DBE opportunities that we plan on providing subcontractor opportunity for. It isn't to say that we may not choose to self-perform some of this scope of work in order to control the schedule. A good example of that might be the second bullet there being the water, sewer, storm drain utilities. Oftentimes we like to take a look at what's most critical on a project and carve out that scope of work that we can self-perform to control the schedule, and then offer up lower risk utility work to subcontractors that may be a smaller portion or quantity of that, but provides the right opportunity for the right size company to perform that scope. Temp asphalt's always a really good one. We do not self-perform asphalt paving, and so the final lifts of asphalt placement is also a great opportunity for subcontractors and DBEs. And then obviously you can step through all the other bullets here that are noted as far as opportunities. But if anyone's familiar with light rail projects, these also are very long projects, multiple years. They're phased. And the reason they're phased is to maintain and provide access for the traveling public, the pedestrians, bikes, businesses, residents. And this one's a really unique environment being downtown. We've got a lot of commercial properties, state properties, courthouse, Maricopa County. There's City of Phoenix properties. There's parking facilities. It's right next to the City Hall and Arizona Financial Theater. So there's going to be a lot of night work, a lot of coordination, a lot of off-hour tie-in work that goes along with the phasing. And so subcontractors that are eyeing this as an opportunity need to have the mind frame of we probably have to be flexible in order to accommodate the work restrictions that are associated with certain moratoriums, and then fit into our sequence of construction on the critical path. So just keep that in mind when you're putting together your proposals. We may be asking specifics around, ability to perform night work only, or this section of your scope of work is going to need to be performed on weekends or off hours to accommodate the regular course of business, seeing those courthouse and stuff involved on the alignment. So that's really important for firms to understand when they're putting together their proposals. So project status, I'll just take a quick minute to give a high level overview of what you can expect moving forward. Right now, we're currently reviewing the 40% cost model. We are in a value engineering session right now, which I got to get back to this afternoon, to be honest with you. It's the third day of a session that we're conducting as part of value engineering for the federal funding. And then we're going to move into 60% to 90% design, and that'll take place between January and October of next year. And we look to have the 90% design complete. And at that point, we'll be developing our GMP. So between, I would say, the summer and the start of fall, you'll start to see bid packages available. And during that time frame of 60%, 90% design, we're also going to be locating existing utilities, nailing down the final track alignment, and finalizing the right-of-way acquisition to develop our GMP, which all plays into how fast we can build things once we understand where the existing utilities are, where they have to be moved, and where the final track alignment's going to be built. That all influences our schedule, and then also trickles down to the subcontractor scopes of how they fit into meeting those requirements. So pre-qualification for subcontracts or subcontractors, it's going to be explained in our outreach events that'll be taking place in summer of 2025. Once we understand all the final design, those packages will be available. And then how you get pre-qualified is still being developed. But the first step to show interest is to visit the website that's noted in red below. And again, you'll get a copy of this in PDF, but that is the Southwest Transit Partners joint venture website that's specific to this project. So a real easy way to click on that, it'll take you to a website. You're able to drop your information into this, and then you'll enter into a database and you'll be contacted once those subcontract and vendor opportunities are presented formally with bid packages, a defined scope of work, copy of our subcontract agreement, all the insurance requirements and so forth. But this, filling out this form here for Southwest Transit Partners is your first step to get loaded into the database to show interest for the project. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Those are some very detailed slides. Again, everybody will get the slides, so thank you so much. Jeff, I'll invite you to stop sharing. And
Okay.
then, and let me know if you want me to click the button. Perfect. And then Jeff, if you want to step into the background, I would like to invite Byron Hubbard. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate it.
All right. Do you have a slide deck? Would you like to talk about GRIP?
I do. Can you guys see it?
We can see everything. I will step into the background. And if I could have you stick to about 5 minutes on this one, Byron, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Jeff is a tough act to follow, so for sure I can do that. Yeah, so just presenting for FNF Construction on the major project we're pursuing right now, which is Wild Horse Pass, was what we're calling it, but it's the widening of I-10 from basically the 202 down to the south to the Gila River Bridge. So a little about FNF. We've been in business for 40 years. Over the last 5 years, we've completed over 54 ADOT projects. We do quite a bit of work for ADOT with over 650 million in the last 5 years, including 481 lane miles, 42 bridges. We're an Arizona-grown company. We started in 1984, so we celebrated our 40th anniversary this year. A couple years ago, we got bought by a company named Mostech, who is a Fortune 500 company traded on the stock market. So we've got a lot of financial stability and a big backing. But getting, and then one more thing, FNF really is committed to DBEs. We've received 4 ADOT partnering through Diversity DBE awards. So basically this project, as I described, was the I-10 grid widening. It's going from 2 lanes each direction to 3 lanes each direction down to Gila River Bridge. There is a section that will be 4 lanes with an HOV lane down to Riggs. Interchange improvements at Wild Horse Pass, Queen Creek, and Riggs Road. Possibly a new TI at Coley Road. So the scope of the project, it's pretty big. So our team is, FNF is the lead contractor. As a major sub, we've got William Charles Electric to do lighting, ITS, signing, whatnot. On the design side, we have AECOM as our lead designer. We're being supported by Iteris, TY Len, Ethos, and a couple other firms. So as far as DB small business scopes on the project, there's going to be the construction, including trucking, rebar, SWIP, as Jeff mentioned on a lot of the projects, seating. We're still in the process of developing what all the scope is. We don't have the final RFP yet, so there's more information to come from the department on what we're going to need to be designing and building. There is the design and engineering opportunities, supplying materials, renting equipment, and then the project support, the janitors, the clerical, supplying water, supplying safety supplies. So procurement process, it is a pretty big project, so we're able to break the work up into smaller pieces to give opportunities to smaller DB subcontractors. So right now, we don't really know what the due date of the project is. We're supposed to be getting the final RFP December 23rd, which will tell us when the due date is and point us in the direction of what we need to design. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern right now, but there will be future outreach opportunities. So when you contact us for the project, we'll get a confidentiality agreement signed so that whatever we discuss remains between you and us. And then our estimators will meet with individual subcontractors to discuss the project. How to pre-qualify with FNF, you go to the FNF website, and there we have a vendor registration link that you can click on, and it gives you all of the information here to fill out. Much of it's the same as what Jeff discussed with Sant, and it goes into our database, into our estimating manager. So again, this is just on www.fnfinc.com. And with that, we look forward to hearing with you and working with you on this project.
Byron, did you really say they're giving it to you on the 23rd of December?
I really did, yes.
Okay, I'll leave that one alone. Byron, thank you so much for that.
Rebecca, that's my best gift so far, is getting this package on December 23rd.
That's your best gift so far, is getting this enormous design build package. Do you know when you have to turn it in?
No, we don't know. We will find out till the 23rd of December.
Anybody that's with ADOT on the line, please, please, please give them time. I'm not involved in the project, but man, that's a, yes, Merry Christmas. Byron, Jason, Merry Christmas. Here's your enormous Christmas present from ADOT. I love it. Byron, thank you so much for the introduction to FNF. Jason Brunker, thank you so much. That you're pursuing the same project. Is that teeing it up for you?
Yeah, luckily, yeah, both Byron and I, we get to share the same holiday joy through December 23rd to the new year.
Excellent. I'll
can you
step
share
into
my
the background,
screen?
Jason. Yeah, we can see your slides. So yeah, take it away,
Oh, you
please.
can? Oh, I'd like to see my slides too. So with, again, following up with Byron said, we're also pursuing the, we're instead of Wild Horse Pass, we're calling it the I-10 Grit project. And for our team, it's, we JV'd on this job. It's Kaufman and Fisher Industries. We're both heavy civil contractors. And as far as working with ADOT, we've both worked with ADOT for over 30 plus years. A little bit for the JV portion of us, we're currently working on 2 projects in Caltrans, which include, or sorry, on the projects for Caltrans, it is Fisher is the prime contractor, and we are performing the concrete paving for them. It's on the I-10 from Desert Center to the Arizona-California border. It's 52 miles long, and 2 jobs combined for a contract value of $500 million. For this job, again, I apologize, for I-10 GRIC, Byron did kind of go through the oversight of everything. Goes from 202 to just north, or the South 202 to just north of the Gila River. Our design team, prime designer is Stantec, and subconsultant designer is Jacobs. As of now, we don't have anyone else on the team for subcontracts or subcontractors, anyone like that. For, again, like Byron said, we don't know the status of the timeline for the work. So we just kind of went off what the original discussion was. This is what we're projecting, this anticipated timeline for the work. So we'll receive the RFP December 23rd, and then probably early spring of next year, we'll be requesting subquotes. And then from that, we go into, once it's awarded, this project has 2 NTPs. So the first NTP will be design. And then once design's underway and at a certain point, ADOT and everyone agrees that NTP2 can begin, which would be construction. So that as far as receiving quotes to beginning work, there is a large gap. So again, when you're putting your scopes together, just keep in mind, escalations for materials, labor, those kind of things, knowing that even though we receive quotes early next year, that contracts probably won't happen till the middle of 2026 or a little bit before there. And then what else? Okay, I'll scroll down. Here's just a couple scopes for anticipated DB firms and sub firms that we'll be seeking for. Again, just looking at some of these, as far as erosion control, that can just be materials. Again, minor structures, flat work, those kind of things. We'll be looking for assistance in all of these. Okay. And as far as pre-qualifying for the JV, again, just being a licensed contractor in Arizona, the ability to obtain the required insurance for the JV, and then also any additional requirements for ADOT. Safety is always a big concern for Kaufman and I know Fisher as well. So just following safety standards and being safe on the project. Delivery of quality workmanship on similar projects, just showing that the scope of work you're asking to perform is stuff that is what you've been doing for at least 5 years, and showing past projects that you've succeeded in. And then also going through just capacity to adhere to the project timelines, making sure resources as far as schedules go for the project, and making sure that, again, like Jeff said, there's weekend work, night work, understanding that there will be restraints to work periods on the job as well. And for reaching out for any information about this project, feel free to email myself. Also on here is Mitch Gamache from Kaufman Specialties and Amy Harris from Fisher. If you want to know more about the project, ADOT has a website that you can look at. And then the ADOT DBE certification requirements emails listed on here, and Kaufman and Fisher's emails listed as well if you want to know more about the companies. And that's it.
Jason, thank you so much for sharing those. Appreciate you, especially for putting your contact information in the slide. Note to Byron and to Jeff, we do have requests from attendees for contact information. So if you wanted to drop your own contact information, or if you have, again, an outreach coordinator, whoever the right person is, if we could get those and distribute those to attendees, that would be much appreciated. All right, Jason, come back if you could turn back on your camera. Byron and Jeff, I'll invite you to turn your cameras on as well. And Jason, I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing. And now we get into the fun part of just the Q&A. So thank you all so much for kind of teeing that up, giving us some great background and some great starting points. So we're going to go through some Q&A, and then I will also, again, mention to attendees, if you could use the Q&A function, we will get to as many questions as we can, but we've already had a lot of great questions come out. So I don't anticipate us even getting to all of the ones that we had prepared. All right, let's jump into it. So talk to me about the timing. A lot of these projects take a long time to secure, from procurement. I can't remember who said it, but one of you mentioned a long procurement that started in 2023. I know the Wild Horse Pass, that was dope. Wild Horse Pass project has been a very known procurement in the market, definitely a known project. Can you help us understand some of the time and effort and strategy that went into your pursuit, or is going into your pursuit? Because Byron, Jason, you guys are still competing for the job. So Byron, can I start with you? Talk to me about the effort, the time that it takes, the strategy that kind of went into going after this project.
Yeah, so we've been looking at this project for a couple of years now, and we've been teamed up with our designer, I think, for a year. Our SOQ went in, I believe it was May, to get shortlisted. And so we just got a draft, what they call it, RFP, a couple months ago that we were able to digest and then ask questions on it. And really, it's a big lift to get these proposals in and these pursuits in, because we have to write a pretty long proposal about how we're going to build the job, what our design is. We have to design the job to a level where we're comfortable that we can provide a lump sum price to the owner. And as Jason said, we need to take everything into account, from material escalations to quantity variance changes, all kinds of different things. So we're going to have a team of 10 to 15 people working on this up until when the project is due, to make sure that we get it turned in on time, that we're compliant with our proposal, that we've got a good design, and that we're comfortable with the risk that we're taking as the prime in order to go complete the work.
Jason, did you want to add anything to that about the time it takes to kind of go after these?
I think he pretty much covered it.
I like it. Could you answer the question of when did your team come together?
Yeah, so they had like a form, ADOT put together a form about a year ago and went down for that presentation. And then shortly after, we started working on putting our team together. So we've been together about a year.
About a year. I'm sorry, you might have said that. Now that you say that again.
Okay.
And then Jeff, I did have to mute you. I got some background noise coming through I believe your microphone, but could you turn your camera or your microphone, excuse me, on and talk to me about the length of time that you have been chasing those projects that you described?
Oh, wow. So the Keno Country Club design build, it started at least a year in advance of the procurement advertisement, at least to assemble our design build team, meaning Jacobs Engineering and Sunt, and then rolling out their subconsultants. So well in advance of that, and understand too that the procurement, as Byron and Jason are going through right now, that procurement time frame is sometimes a year and a half between getting qualified and then the RFP stage. So I'd say 2.5 years effort before you or a selection is made on the selected contractor. So to put that, I guess, in the frame of when subcontractors should begin engagement, it's going to be sometime between getting shortlisted and as that initial design progresses, so that they can start influencing pricing and schedule, that sort of thing on critical components. And that confidentiality agreement with quantities and everything that Byron is going through, there's a lot of interaction that takes place there. So there is a level of effort required from DBEs that want to participate in a major scope. So it can't just be 2 weeks before our proposal is due. Sometimes for simpler scopes on supply, that would work. But if you're going to integrate into the critical path, it takes a lot of effort. So staying engaged, understanding our procurement schedule well in advance of when the due date is essential for your success. So that's really the recommendations I can make. But the effort on our side as a prime, it's years, and it feels like years. So, and this time it sounds like some of it's going to be over the holidays for a few people.
No doubt, no doubt. Okay, so kind of following up on that, Jeff, you mentioned subcontractors need to get in touch with you early and stay engaged. Jason, could you touch on that as well? When do you need subcontractors to start reaching out to you? You know, I know you mentioned you're kind of in a holding pattern until December 23rd, but if subcontractors are interested in this project, how early do they need to get in touch with you?
Yeah, again, once we get the RFP, we can kind of look at what scopes are and packages, and then start sending out the invite to reach out to us so they can start reviewing what we can release from the job. Again, providing non-disclosure to everyone that we send it out to. And as far as the timeline that we provided on there, I'm thinking it's going to be around early spring of next year. And once we dive into it more again, as things progress, be revisiting, scopes of work and making sure everyone has everything covered that's needed.
Okay, Byron, how about you?
Yeah, probably, probably 6 to 8 months before the project goes in, it would be good to know what subcontractors are interested in the project. But really, we're not going to be able to get bid packages out till we have a level of design and then quantities that can be priced by the actual subcontractors. Typically, that happens probably 8 weeks before the proposals due. So yeah, get involved early, but please know that there's really not going to be a lot that can be priced until we get our design and our quantities to a level that we feel comfortable getting it out to market.
So the right stuff right now is pre-qual to make sure everybody's pre-qualified, all of their documents are in place. So I have my DBE certification. That took me a long time, and I feel like that might be the most relevant experience that I have. How long does it take a subcontractor to get pre-qualified for each of your respective firms? Byron.
For F&F, it doesn't take long. Just need to go through our vendor registration on our website, get the information filled out, and then our estimating manager will take a look at it and pass the info along. It's really a pretty quick process.
Okay, perfect. Jeff?
Yeah, same here. It could be a day or two. I will say that if there's information that is held back and there has to be some conferences or some meetings scheduled to do that, it could drag out another week or so, but it's not a laborsome time frame.
Perfect. Jason?
Yeah, same, a couple days, just providing the, AZU tracks number and showing that you're a licensed contractor in the state, and then, yeah, just pretty quick.
Perfect. Okay. So let me ask, and you kind of alluded to it, the bid prices, subcontractors bid to you as a prime general contractor. You evaluate it, you let them know they're low or they're the right person, whether they're low or not. They are your chosen subcontractor for this scope of work. How long does it take to get the contract to them? And can you explain what happens between then? Yes, or Jason, you tell me yes, Rebecca, you're it for this scope of work. What happens in your world between that? You kind of alluded to it. There's a lot of work. It sounded like a really long time between that. Jason, can you take that one first?
Sure. So yeah, the process, it all depends on the project timeline to when they're going to be starting their work. So when we're awarded the job, contracts are one of the first things that get started on top of trying to get project schedules, everything else lined out. But it just takes time going through for Kaufman. I won't speak for Fisher on this, but just getting contracts lined out, going through scopes with each person, making sure they have the resources that are required, any stipulations they have. We'll usually take the lowest three, reach out to them just to make sure whatever's in their quote, they can match our timeline. And if they're missing something, let them know, or if we think we need to add something else to it. So the process to get it through, yeah, it takes sometimes, 3 to 4 weeks up to a month, if not longer. And especially on bigger jobs, it can be a process. So we just try to reach out to the ones that are performing work early, get those subcontracts in, and then work our way down the line. So it can take some time.
And I'm going to follow up on that one. Did you say the project timeline, and I wrote this down just because I didn't want to mess it up, spring of 2025 is when
that's what we're at. Like Byron said, we don't know. Until we get the RFP, we don't know. So our team kind of gave me that timeline, saying these are the projected dates that we think things will happen. But again, what's unique with this job is we'll turn in our RFP, which will have our cost portion of it. But once we're in contract with ADOT, there's an NTP1, which is design. So that then is going to even delay construction longer. So it can be very long before you get contracts run for this job.
Yeah, because that's what I wrote down. Spring of 2025 is when you could, again, tentatively, subcontractor bids, and then summer of mid-2026 for contracts. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah, that's how the original RFP was set up. So there was 2 notice to proceeds. So with that first one, yeah, it can take some time.
Byron, do you have anything to add to that? Back to the question, which was what happens between, you let the subcontractor know, hey, you're our parent, you're the right person. We're choosing you for this scope of work. What happens between that notice and when the actual contract comes out?
It's very similar to what Jason was talking about. We go through our contracts department to get a contract written and get it out to the particular subcontractor. One thing with these mega design builds that needs to be considered is sometimes you wait to write some of your subcontracts until you get further in design so that you fully understand what you're building and what the quantities are. So for instance, as an example, we've been building the Broadway curve for the last 3 years or so. And we were 2 years into the contract before we wrote some of those subcontracts. So yeah, the critical subs where we need to lock pricing in, like rebar or whatnot, that's an easy contract to write very early because it's just pounds of steel. But some of the more intricate ones with design, you actually need to have a more developed design before you can enter into a subcontract. And a lot of times what ends up happening is you're going to go back out and have your subcontractors requote it, which it adds risk to the prime for the project.
Gotcha. Jeff, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess to not be redundant or reiterate what was said, one thing that helps that I've seen actually extend that time frame, and if we can get in front of it, is to review our standard form of agreements, terms and conditions early. And if there's any red lines or any recommendations that they'd like to see changed or have questions on, if we can get that out of the way before the pricing is due, then that will accelerate the time that we can convert or actually execute the actual subcontract. So that doesn't hold up the actual execution of the contract after pricing's submitted. But yeah, same kind of process, same time frame that both Jason and Byron described. But if you can get out in front of negotiating any terms that might be flexible, whether it be insurance limits or waivers, that sort of thing, get that done in advance of the proposal. It'll speed up the execution time.
I like it. Excellent. So back into kind of the subcontractors that are interested in working with you. Let's say they got pre-qualified, did all their, did everything there, or they have a history with you and they're already pre-qualified. How often do you want to hear from them? Like, what's a good cadence? Like, I'm guessing not every day. Like, that would be maybe a little too much, but do you want to hear from people? Like, how frequent and how? Like, talk to me about what's a good, like, hey, a nice, gentle, like, reminder, like, hey, we still exist. Hey, we're still here, ready to do work for you. Byron, coming to you first.
I'd say probably once a month would be good. And really at FNF, it's not just me, but we've got an estimating team of several individuals that are consistently talking to the subcontractors that are in the market out there. FNF does both low bid and alternative delivery work. So we're putting bids out to ADOT or other people probably every 2 to 3 weeks. And once you get pre-qualified with us, you'll get signed up for a program called Smart BidNet. And every time we are bidding a job, we'll advertise that job to all of our pre-qualified subcontractors on Smart BidNet. And we'll be able to see who's interested in it, who's downloaded the plans, who's going to be bidding on it. But I mean, to answer your direct question, probably once a month, and it's either, a phone call or an email with the estimator in charge of that particular project that we're bidding.
Jeff, how about you?
Same type of answer. We got a big staff here in our pre-construction department, and they've got relationships with subs and suppliers already established. But if you're new and you want to introduce yourself to our company and kind of showcase your scopes of work that you'd like to pursue, we're welcoming in-person meetings. You can come in, sit down with us, describe what your capacity is, where you're headed. But the frequency, once a month's probably a good baseline to use. If you want to stretch it out, make it every couple months. If there's really nothing coming up and you just want to stay front of mind with us, that's fine. Everyone's different. Some people like emails, some people like phone calls, some people like lunches. So you just got to kind of understand who it is that you're dealing with on our team and capitalize on those opportunities. But frequent is good, because when you're top of mind with us and we've got a need and we need to turn to someone, having your pre-qualification completed and us understanding your scope and capabilities, that's going to take a lot of the effort out of inviting you to bid on the work that we've got coming up. And we do a portion of low bid as well as alternative delivery. So we're the same kind of animal as FNF and Kaufman as well. So
Jason, anything to add?
No, they pretty much covered everything. Yeah, once a month. And since I am an estimator, feel free to reach out to me. But yeah, I think once a month is okay.
And nobody's saying every day. Can't believe it. I would also never.
I wish I had time to talk to everyone every day.
I can't imagine the diligence and like somebody would have to be like on it. I would be so impressed, and then I would be so pestered. I'd be like, okay, that's enough. All right, we do have quite a few Q&A from the audience, so I'm going to get to about maybe one, maybe two more questions of our prepared list, and then I do want to make sure we cover the audience Q&A. So heads up to all of our attendees. If you have a burning question, please do add it to the Q&A portion. Couple of questions. These are the big projects. What special requirements? What should potential subcontractors know about this? You mentioned night work. I know there's DBE requirements on some of these jobs. What are the special requirements or conditions that people should be aware of before they ever chase one of these things? Jason.
Again, not knowing much about the RFP yet, a little difficult to answer for this job, but it being a freeway, there's, a lot of night work, just lane restrictions, lane closures. There's a couple TIs, bridge, reconstruct, or I believe reconstruct or widening. So again, those are going to be involved in a lot of closures that it'll just be night work, off hours, some weekend work. But until we know more about the scope of it, it's kind of hard to get too into.
Fair. Byron.
Yeah, I mean, on top of what Jason just mentioned for GRIC or Wild Horse Pass, whatever you want to call it, it's going to have what's called an independent quality function, IQF, on the project. And what that means is that the quality acceptance for the project is taken care of by a contract with the prime contractor. So we hire an IQF, they go out and they do the independent quality inspection on the project to make sure that we're meeting ADOT specs. That does not happen on most of ADOT's projects. Normally ADOT's inspectors are accepting the work. And what we found with IQF is there's no gray area for the inspectors to operate in, like there is with an ADOT employee. There's black or white. So the quality, the whole points and the quality is letter of the law, plain and simple. And that is something that if you've done a lot of work for ADOT, you are not used to until you do an IQF project.
That is a really good point. Jeff, anything to add to that?
I guess the only thing that I would add, especially on a project like the Keno Country Club design build, would be the Davis-Bacon wage requirements and the paperwork involved with that. If your firm is unfamiliar with that, there may be some education component to that, and we can help with that. So just understanding that, making sure you're in compliance, so that you are paid on time and everything is certified. That seems to be a little bit of a learning curve to someone that's new to that. So just keep your eyes out for that, but understanding, I guess, our needs of the schedule, back to the night work and the off-hour work and the requirements for noise, and understanding that your approach to the work satisfies all the environmental requirements, so we don't get out of step on things like that. Really, it's just getting into the scope and understanding what the technical provisions and specifications require, and not just making assumptions on those types of things. So,
Harry, do your homework.
yeah,
That's what I'm going to sum up everything you guys just said and sum it up as do your homework. These are not small jobs. These are not simple projects, it sounds like. Okay, perfect. Well, I would like to get to a couple audience questions. So question, everybody seems to have financials as a component of their pre-qualification package. Do you need audited or reviewed financials? Is that a requirement?
I'll jump in here. We prefer that. If you do not have them, we can work around it. And I mentioned that if you're unwilling or cannot provide audited financial statements, we will meet with you one-on-one. You can share information for us to the extent that you would like, and then we can make a determination there of where to set your pre-qualification limit at. So we're definitely flexible. And so it's not a hard and fast requirement, but it does help.
Perfect. Jason.
Yeah, kind of just to follow with what Jeff said, just meeting and as far as, yeah, just making sure everything can be covered for the subcontractor, knowing that if meet down, sit with them, see what their resources are available. Financial statements, not as much necessary, I guess, for us, but well, they are necessary, but just understanding what the firm's capable of performing and having a meeting with them just to make sure they're able to do the work we need.
Byron, do you guys have a need for audited or reviewed financials?
We're the same as we're flexible. We'll work with this DBE subcontractors for sure.
Excellent, thank you. A question that comes up kind of frequently, and I'm going to reword the one in the Q&A. It's non-traditional scopes or DBE firms that are certified DBEs, but are performing maybe something that's not a traditional, a pure scope on a project. How do you work with those, DBE firms that approach you and say like, hey, I do this amazing job and here's what I do. And it is completely outside of like the normal, self-perform or, scope of work on a project. How do you incorporate those scopes of work or those firms? How do you make sure they have a fair chance at working for you?
Well, first, for us to get credit for it, if it's being measured, it would need to be a commercial useful function, right? They've got to be certified in that category. So that would be step one. So if it's non-traditional, but it's been designated as a commercial universal function, whatever that acronym means, sorry. that would be the first step. And then understanding if it's out of the ordinary, we would need to understand what value and benefit it's going to bring to the job before we sign you up. I mean, I hope that makes sense. We're open and we're innovative, so we're open to hear what you do. And if it's going to make a difference, we definitely want to put you to work, but we want it to mean something and we want it to count. So that's kind of my response.
Okay.
I don't know. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Byron, did you want to take a crack at it next?
No, very, very similar to what Jeff said. I will say this, a lot of it really is going to depend on the project. If you go a traditional low bid project, you don't have to supply an office for the owner. So you're not going to need a cleaning company or a maintenance company or any of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, to meet a DBE goal, we'll look at whatever we possibly can to meet that goal. And it really depends on the project and what the scope of work is and what we have to provide.
Perfect. Jason, anything to add?
No, just to follow what Byron and Jeff said. Again, if it benefits the project and we can utilize it, then by all means we'll do something to try to make that happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I am going to stick to just one lightning round question. And I'm going to give you like a 1-sentence answer on this one. Okay, so the question is going to be these projects, these mega projects. You work so hard at going after them for years and years, sometimes, building teams, a lot of time, a lot of energy. What do you do when you are not successful? Is it tacos? Is it Ben and Jerry's? Is it a beer? What do you do? Jason, what's your consolation prize? Like, oh man, I didn't win that project.
I'll let you go first.
Who's that? Who do you want to go first?
I said Jeff. He was eager to answer, so I didn't know. I thought he was leaning into it.
I will say, for the past couple of years, we've been second place on a lot of stuff, and so we got a lot of practice at this. And there's a certain bar that's not too far from our office that we patronize when we get second place. So sorry to say it, but I usually turn to a cold and dingy pub to drown my sorrows.
Fair. Very fair. Jason?
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm immune to it just yet, because in estimating, you go after a lot of work and you're lucky to get 10% or 5% of what you go after. So yeah, but definitely a beer after.
All right. Byron, anything different?
No, nothing different. A very stiff bourbon. Normally we go to the bar if we're successful. If we're not successful, it's usually at home alone in a dark corner.
Fair. I appreciate your honesty on that one. And I guess the reality check of like, you guys don't win everything you go after, right? There's no 100% success rate.
Yeah, as Jason said, you get used to it. This thing doesn't go away, but you get used to it.
Fair. All right. It's just heartbreaking, when you work so hard at something, and especially the projects we've talked about today are very significant, and everybody puts in a lot of time and a lot of effort on those. So thank you all so much for your time and your participation. If we did not get to your questions, I will try and answer them just in written format. And again, a couple of reminders, we will be giving out all the slide decks, all the contact information. Jeff has sent over a couple PDFs, like handouts, so we will be distributing those. And we will be back in a couple of weeks, and our workshop is going to be getting behind the scenes with ADOT. We've got contracts and specs and also audit and analysis. And they're going to go through kind of all the tools that are online, answer questions, and be available to firms who interact with them. So thank you all so much. We will get a recording out if you want to revisit any of the questions. And I will just say thank you so much, Jason, Byron, Jeff, and all of our ADOT representatives today for joining the DBE Task Force meeting. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.